Recording live from the basement on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon instead of Thursday night as usual. It's Dishing Swishing Podcast with Joe and Ed. I'm feeling pretty good. Had my breakfast, my lunch, got a little quick workout in. Then I talked to Joe, and Joe says that he's a little angry about something. So, Joe, what's in your mind? What's going on, buddy?
Listen, I got to get something off my chest. Monday morning, I wake up, 9:15 in the morning. What is the first thing I see on Twitter? The Boston Red Sox signed Cuban infielder Yoan Moncada. The deal was apparently worth $30 million, plus the posting fee, which was another $30 million. So it cost them $60 million to sign him. Fine. Moncada has never played a single inning of professional baseball here in the United States. He's only played in Cuba. Fine. I get that. Obviously this is when George died. When did the Yankees become afraid to spend money? And when did the Yankees become afraid to freaking go after it? You know what I mean? Like, I can't figure it out. You're supposed to sign Moncada just because you know the Red Sox want to sign him. The difference in the deal was negligible. The Yankees, according to the New York Post, their highest bid was $27 million, which was essentially within $5 million off of what the Red Sox gave. That's absurd. That's absurd. The boss is rolling over in his grave right now, and I know that because we have this telepathic connection because we're both born on the 4th of July. So, I get that. I mean, I get that they signed Headley, they got A-Rod coming back, they got Didi Gregorius from Arizona, they had a whole new infield. I'm just so pissed. I'm so pissed about the entire situation. And another thing too, which is I'm gonna let Eddie get into this now. A-Rod comes back last week. Comes back to spring training 2 days or 3 days before everybody was allegedly supposed to come and report. Now, knowing that A-Rod, who has been out of baseball for the last year and a half, knowing that A-Rod has done what he has done and he's apologized to the team and he's really, really doing his best to try to have everybody embrace him again. How is coming to spring training days before everybody else a bad thing? The Yankees think it's a bad thing. The Yankees, people in the organization are pissed off. Why? Why can't we just forgive A-Rod and accept him? Why do the Yankees organization, why do they have to keep dragging him through the mud? I don't get it. I am so irritated by everything. And I hope, George, I love you. Rest in peace. You were the best. I don't know what your sons are doing. They're freaking out of their mind. They are, I can't figure it out. All right, I'm done.
Is that my cue?
That's your
I'm glad we started with this. Probably cannot disagree with you more on both fronts.
There we go.
I don't. Well, do. All right. So here's my question to you. Convince me as to why it's better to spend $60 million on a guy who has never played professional baseball and is probably still 2 to 3 years away from the majors, as opposed to having that money to spend towards a guy who has played as proven. Which is the Yankee way. I mean, let's be honest. The Yankee way is not finding young talent. The Yankee way is finding that, unfortunately, that 33-year-old, free agent signing and getting him. I'm not saying I'm advocating for that. I'm not saying I want to go for a 33-year-old free agent. But there are guys, who, this year, granted, it was a slow year for free agents. It was not that great of a year for free agents. That being said, there are, guys in the future, maybe, a guy in the trading deadline they want to get and have this long-term deal. Why should I be that upset about not signing Yoan Moncada?
Here are my two counterpoints. Number one, they're the New York Yankees. They don't care about money. They swim in money.
But that's not how they've been recently.
I know that's not how they've been recently, but that's stupid. Because look at what the Dodgers have been doing. Look at what the Tigers have been doing. Look at what the Phillies did from 2007 to 2012, what have you. They won the championship in between. Look at what the Boston Red Sox have done. The Red Sox were awful in 2012. They spent the money. They rebuilt on the fly. Granted, Moncada's young, and I understand what you're saying about that. But spending money, usually teams that spend money, if you do it wisely, it works. Spending money on Moncada, knowing how highly touted he is, knowing how much he's destroyed the Cuban seen, knowing how much players like Jose Abreu, Yasiel Puig have come into the majors over the last couple of years and have completely been great from the get-go, I think it's a smart investment. Because let's say Didi fails at shortstop. Shortstop is probably the hardest position to fill in all of baseball. So, I mean, like I said, I get what you're saying. My second point is that the Yankees and everybody complains about not rebuilding and how, like, it's hard for them to build a minor league system. Moncada would go a long way to helping replenish the system with a really, really, really great prospect. He would be our best prospect from the get-go.
Yeah, he would.
He would be the number one prospect. I mean, Aaron Judge is really good. He's really good. But Moncada would far and away be the organization's number one prospect, and he would probably spend at most a year and a half in the minors.
Well, that's not true. They said for the Red Sox he's 2 or 3 years away. Why would it be any different for the Yankees? The Red Sox also have guys playing the position he plays. They have Pedroia signed.
They also have people in the outfield. I mean, they have every single spot that Moncada can play in filled. But the problem is, it's like you let such a great asset get away from you. And not only did you let him get away from you, you let him get away to a rival team. Not like a rival team, the rival team. So, 8 years from now, when Moncada's bashing our brains in, hopefully he's a Yankee by then. But if 8 years from now he's still in the Red Sox organization, he's bashing our brains in, I'm going to come back to this conversation and I'm going to be like, I told you so.
And the money we didn't spend on him, we'll spend on ripping, Bryce Harper from the Nationals or something. I'm not concerned with that. I'd rather have a guy who's been in the league. Yes, he's the number one prospect for the Red Sox right now. He's the number 10 prospect in all of baseball. He's the number one Cuban prospect. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I'm just saying, give me the reason why I should be, ripping my hair out over a 19-year-old that we can get when we could use that money towards a guy who's been proven, who's hitting his prime. That's my only argument. I'm not calling him a bust whatsoever. Like, he's in great shape. The guy looks like the greatest baseball player of all time. You see pictures of this guy?
He's jacked.
Oh, he's
unreal.
Shape. Hey, as a person who cares about fitness, I could respect his body. He's in very good shape. He looks like he just has like that his just skin tone. He looks like a great baseball player. I'm not gonna lie. He's. I mean, hey, but I did like what I don't know what Steinbrenner was. Was it Hal? I guess it was today. I don't know if you were. You wake up at weird times, but he was saying how he wanted this year for the Yankees. It's back to the old school. It's like Yankees baseball. It's playoffs or bust. And I think it's the first time you really heard him say that. Because you're right. They don't have the same fire as their father. They're not like the old, George Steinbrenner. You could say he's rolling in his grave. How they're, the Yankees, been playing. They're just a different kind of, they have a different mindset. They want to be out of the spotlight. I'm not saying I disagree with that. That's fine. I think when an owner is too, overbearing, it's a bad thing for a team. So they're giving them space, which is great. A lot of things at the Yankees camp today. I know you get on A-Rod's case. Did you know you said that you were pissed off that A-Rod came to camp 3 days early? So I
wasn't pissed. I was so happy. I was
all right.
The point that I was making was that the organization, the reports that
they were upset.
They were upset about him coming to camp early.
Yeah, that makes no sense why they're
because
upset.
It was basically
you have less of a media
basically what they're arguing is that A-Rod is still going to the beat of his own drum, and he hasn't really learned anything, and he still wants to do everything on his own accord, and that he doesn't want to follow the schedule and the plan that the organization and the team has laid out for him. So, I mean, I can understand what, him being a surprise maybe didn't quite fit into their plans. But if I'm anybody in the organization, I'm happy that A-Rod, all he wants to do right now is just get to it and finish out his career, however long he's got. He's got, a year left, 2 years left, maybe? He's still under contract, but they're going to probably do everything in their power to make sure that they could get rid of that contract as soon as they can. So I have no problems with him showing up to 3 days early. I have a problem with the organization because it still shows that the Yankees organization has an agenda for A-Rod, and I think we're at that point where we should be long, long past that. A-Rod did his time. He served the suspension. He's done, he's still going to get criticized in the media. He's still going to be scrutinized by all these baseball writers, over the course of the season.
He'll be the single most scrutinized player in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I have no problem with him coming early because I think the media frenzy, if A-Rod came out and said, I'm coming to camp on this day, this exact time, I mean, could you imagine the amount of media members that would be there? It would be off the charts.
Yeah.
What he did come unannounced, I mean, it saved them a whole, PR headache in a way. I mean, I think their response was foolish to say that they were not happy with the guy. What team would be unhappy with the guy coming to camp early to learn to hone his craft and get better at the game early?
To hone his craft.
But seriously, think about that.
No, I know. He hasn't been on a baseball field.
What team would ever say this guy's an idiot for coming in early, going and do extra work? You usually want your players to do extra work, not less work. I mean, his first day he swung the bat, he had 70 swings, I believe 6 home runs. That's what we want to see from the guy. He's playing shortstop today. He's gonna play third. He'll play shortstop. I would not be surprised. I think he's gonna play first.
I think he's gonna play first.
I think he's gonna play a lot of first base.
I mean, he's gonna play a lot of first
defense
base.
with him is not the issue. He'll rotate a DH with McCann and Teixeira and Mark Teixeira. Not that I want to get off the A-Rod subject because I have a question for you about A-Rod. Mark Teixeira today coming out saying he's gluten free. He's sugar-free. He's
Let me tell you something.
He's dairy-free.
He's the biggest geek in the entire world. I can't stand him.
He's one of those guys you wear like those white tennis shoes and tuck in his polo collared shirt and has a phone clip on his belt, and he's just a nerd. And his contract, I mean, for the first couple of years, decent player. I mean, do you think the rest of his contract, does that equal, the first 2 years we got the good from him? Do we take those 2 good years out and say, okay, it's worth it now because we got? I mean, I don't think so. Great, you're not eating ice cream anymore. And he said today, what was it? It was I dropped 13 pounds of fat and put on 15 pounds of muscle, so it was a 2 pound of muscle net gain. That's what you got from Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira has gained 2 pounds of muscle this offseason. Congrats. Is that what he wants to hear? Let's see. What is he looking for? How about this? Stay on the field.
I'm going to get so excited at the end of March because the Yankees will be right around the corner, and I'm going to convince myself that this is the year that Teixeira finally gets hot to come right out of the gates. He's not going to hit 220. He'll hit 270, 280. He'll get back to his power ways. He'll approach 25, 30 home runs. He'll play Gold Glove defense at first, and then by the end of April, at the beginning of May, he'll be hitting 215. He'll have a lot of struggles at the plate. And then I'll be calling for A-Rod to come in and play first base and be the savior. That's exactly how it's going to go. And that's exactly how I know it's going to go.
How many games does A-Rod play this year?
Ooh, good question. Good question.
I'll give you over under 100 for Alex.
Over under 100. If I had my way, it'd be over.
What does that mean, your way?
Well, he'd be playing every day if it was my way.
I'm not asking if you're managing. I'm asking how many games will Alex Rodriguez play, will be in the lineup.
Probably under. So I'll say under. I'll say somewhere between 100's like a good ceiling. I'd say he plays somewhere between 70 and 100 games. So close to half.
70 and 100? So you go a 30-game span?
No, I said he'll play between 70 and 100 total games.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a huge span. Okay, he'll play between 0 to 162 games.
All right, so he'll play 85 games.
85.
Yeah. We'll take.
No, you're not too far from me. I was hovering around 90, 95. I think he'll miss games. I think when if Teixeira is healthy, he's going to play. I think if McCann's healthy, McCann is a huge signing. If he hits the ball, he's going to be in. I mean, so I think A-Rod's going to be struggling to get time, to fit into what position he's playing at. Because he has a challenge at third base now because Chase Headley and the DH, like I said, it's going to be a platoon spot. Also, he's 40 years old. That's the other thing. I mean, he's a 40-year-old guy when your body's supposed to break down, and he's not played a meaningful game of baseball in how long? He's out for a whole entire year. No matter who you are, that's going to decrease your level of play. So between that, he's obviously going to get injured because of his body. When you do juice, that's what happens. You break down, and everyone knows this. So I'm around 90 to 95 games, I think. He'll be under the 100 mark. What are your realistic goals for his batting, his offense?
He'll hit. He was never a bad hitter, even when he was declining.
He's a career 209 hitter, so
right.
He's around 300.
He'll hit. I think he'll hit 260-ish, between 250, 260. He'll hit. I think if he played more, he could probably hit over 20 home runs, but I don't see him playing more. So I think he'll hit about 15 home runs, have about 60, 70 RBIs, somewhere around then. He'll play good defense wherever he plays. He'll get timely hits. He'll have his moments throughout the course of the season where the fans they'll react to him in a positive way. And throughout the course of the season, I think his rapport with the fans will go back up a little bit. He'll earn our respect. Well, not my respect.
Not mine either.
I'm saying other people who have this problem with him. And he'll get on our good side, and he'll be a good Yankee again. Do I trust the media and do I trust the Yankees organization for letting us fully embrace him throughout the course of the season? Probably not. There'll probably be a couple of stories throughout the season where, A-Rod gets ticked off in the locker room or somebody says something. And listen, it's gonna go in one ear and out the other ear. But those are my projections. So I'll say 260, 18 home runs, 65 RBIs, good defense.
Yeah, I agree with the defense. I agree. I think 260 is a bit high. Again, the guy did not play a full season last year, and he's 20. What am I saying? 20. He's 40 years old. I just don't see him hitting 260. I think it'll be closer to 240, 245. That's just the nature of the game. You're not supposed to be this good when you're this age. I mean, he prolonged his career in the unnatural way, and this is what happens when you get off this stuff. I don't think he's that dumb. God help him if he decides if he gets caught again. I mean, this guy's an idiot. I think he's the dumbest person of all time. I think he cannot make a right decision. Unless he's forced to doing that. He's just that dumb. I don't know if there's something wrong with him. That's literally how I feel. That being said, I think the guy will be useful for the Yankees. I think Alex will hit around 240, 245. I think 18 home runs is a lot if he's only playing less than 100 games. I think I'd say around 13. And, I guess, RBI 50, 60. Look, he's one of the greatest hitters of all time. He'll find a way to, find the gaps. He's great. He could hit the ball out of the field. That helps. But I think people coming in expecting him to, hit 30 jacks as a 40-year-old they're just nuts. If he could help play timely defense, be an extra bat in the lineup they need, great. That's all the Yankees really need right now. The pitching rotation looks like they're going to be pretty solid. So that's what you're looking for from A-Rod. Anyone expect anything more is wrong. He'll come back, he'll sell tickets, he'll put butts in seats, which is what the Yankees need now with Jeter gone. And like you said, hopefully there's no conflict in the locker room. I don't think A-Rod's that kind of guy. He won't get anyone's face. He won't create an issue. Everyone seems to like A-Rod, but could manage being on a team with him. And that's all he could do. And play this final season and call it quits. I mean, I don't think the Yankees are going to make it the World Series. I don't think they're going to win anything. It won't be a significant year for them. Playoffs, possibly.
Playoffs are possible.
It's possible.
They'll probably win between 85, 90 games if they all stay healthy.
It's up to the pitching, but, we'll get to that baseball
Well, yeah, we'll get
preview.
Into the predictions.
Right now, obviously, no, it's relevant. It's just stuff to talk about with, A-Rod coming to spring training right now, and he has a good positive attitude, and you're right, he deserves the respect. He served his time. He's a huge scapegoat for the whole, PED scandal. But, he's signed, he's playing for Pinstripes, the team I root for, team you root for, and a team that everyone in this area wants to see back to the promised land. Their owner is saying it now, finally. He's giving his real opinion. He's sounding more like his dad. And, the Yankees are ready to do that. Last year was a really, bad year in terms of, a lot of guys struggling with the pitching and lack of timely hitting. And let's see if it changes. That's all we can hope for.
You ready to move on?
I think I'm ready to move on.
We've exhausted our
I am fully ready. You had your rant. You said, Eddie, I want to do a monologue on Yoan Moncada, whatever his name is. I don't care. He'll whatever. And I said, Joe, you could 100% do that. And then as this week went on, A-Rod comes to camp 3 days early, and then we got ourselves a baseball story. But we opened our podcast with there's 1,000 things going on.
There's 1,000 things going on, and
we opened up with probably the least important of them. But I let Joe do what he wanted to do. This has been a really crazy week. We could stay on the baseball track and talk Josh Hamilton. We could go to the other. Last week last week our
we got breaking news.
What's that?
Yager to the Panthers.
Really?
Jaromir Yager to the Florida Panthers.
Hey, they're getting hot, the Panthers. I'm sure he's thrilled to go down and play in what is it, Sunrise, Florida?
Yeah.
That guy, I mean, Yager's a weird dude. But last week was it was almost like a positive kind of news week. It was a lot of good basketball stories. There was we went from the All-Star break to the trading deadline. It's fun sports talk. This week is a lot of negative, depressing sports news, and with Josh Hamilton, getting this suspend. Well, I'm not sure what the ramifications are because he is technically a first-time offender. He admitted to using cocaine and going on a binge when he is a recovering addict. So you're not supposed to obviously touch alcohol or cocaine, and he did. But he admitted it. He came clean himself, was not caught. So let me make that clear. He chose to do that himself, which I think is very respectable. The guy now has married, has kids, and he's been clean for a while. Besides, they said a few drinks a couple seasons ago, which is whatever. So this kind of came out of the blue, which is sad to see. Josh Hamilton, I mean, a guy had a career very similar to. I know Francesca was calling him, the close thing to Mickey Mantle. I was going to say let's pump the brakes there. He's not Mickey Mantle. I mean, first of all, Mickey Mantle.
Mike Trout is the closest thing to Mickey Mantle
in terms of play, yeah. And Mickey Mantle, one thing, whatever he did off the field, whatever he did off the field, Mickey Mantle, he could handle it.
Right.
Not to promote what he did, but if he got blasted, he'd come and play. And, he was, a guy who was one of the greatest players of all time and could have been even better. Hamilton, though, similar kind of, playing style. He was the first pick in the 99 draft by the Rays, I believe. And
Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
And he did not play a single inning of baseball until 2007 professionally. Think about that.
Correct.
8 years. He took 8 years of baseball for that. That's how bad his addiction was. I was reading that he could not be left alone during rehab. That is, he could not be left alone in a room or have money on him because he'd try to find a way to score a drug. That's how sick he was.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So to see this happen to him now, I mean, I really don't. There's no really angle on this. I really don't. I just it's big news. He's been a huge disappointment actually in the Los Angeles, Anaheim, Orange County, Angels area.
They still play in Anaheim, but.
Whatever. It's a huge disappointment. I'm glad the Yankees almost signed him. The Angels outbid the Yankees. That was 2 years ago. The Yankees offered like $90 million. Angels got him for $120, I believe. This is going off the top of my head. Pretty good that the Yankees did not make that move. The less moves the Yankees make, the better it turns out for them. Because that would have been a huge, colossal bust for the Yankees. And he's been, even though it doesn't make sense, the short, right field porch. But, Josh Hamilton's a guy that he was awesome in the Rangers, awesome in the Reds. He had one of the most memorable, All-Star game weekend. The home run derby in Yankee Stadium was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in baseball. Regular season playoffs, what have you. That was awesome. So it's just sad to see this happen to him. I don't know if you have any thoughts, words, prayers, whatever.
Yeah, my prayers go out to Hamilton because he always seemed like a great guy. Obviously,
yeah, man.
He obviously put on the show at Yankee Stadium in the home run derby. That was awesome. I think Hamilton is the case study for alcohol problems and drug problems and addiction problems in terms of how athletes can relate to it. Because, I mean, you're either in the camp that really harshly criticizes these people and you say, from an outsider's perspective, you say they have problems, they can fix themselves. And then there are more kind of sympathetic people who really can relate. Maybe they know somebody in particular who is an alcoholic, who is addicted to whatever drug have you, coke, heroin, Special K, the list goes on and on. But in Hamilton's case, not only did he get sober and not only did he completely change his life around, but he became the super baseball player that he was supposed to be. And usually when you get a second chance, especially if you're an athlete, and especially if you miss that much time and you take that much time off of your career, you don't necessarily pan out the way...
If you take off 1 year,
it can take off 1 year, it can screw you up a lot. more than 7.
More than 8 years.
About 8
off.
years between the time he was drafted and the time he actually played professionally.
99 to 07.
When he got to Cincinnati and he played for the Reds in 2007, he was
8 years, like he didn't skip a beat.
And he didn't skip a beat.
It's incredible.
And he came right in. His first 2 years were pretty much the same. And then he really took off. And then from 2000 and I'll say 2009 to 2012, when he was playing in Texas, he really blossomed and became not only one of the best outfielders or hitters in baseball, he became one of the best players in baseball.
Oh, sure.
And he won the 2010 American League Most Valuable Player Award. He took the Rangers, and he was arguably the best player, him and Adrian Beltre, the two core hitters on the teams that went to back-to-back World Series. So he turned his life around, and now to see him dip back into those ways, I can't relate, but I could definitely be sympathetic to that because I've seen this person not only turn his life around, but turn his life around for the better. You know, some people turn their lives around, however, they never really get back to the way or get back to the life path that they were on beforehand. So I'm rooting for him. I think he's a great guy. When you watch him do interviews, he seems like a very nice, humble guy. Seems like a very big family guy too.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
and then there was the incident.
He has a family.
Remember the incident in Texas a couple of years ago where he was tossing the ball up to
and the
a
guy
young
fell.
kid, his father fell and he died, and it was just really, really sad story. And if you do a little research on it, Hamilton really, no pun intended, stepped up to the plate and really took care of that kid, especially after a traumatizing and emotional incident like that. So it was so depressing, and this definitely depresses me. It's sad, and I like I said, I hope for nothing for the best. I really hope he gets clean and he does it as quickly as he possibly can.
Yeah, because it's just a crazy story. I mean, the guy, it's really incredible at how strong his demons must be to it took over. This guy was given a $4 million signing, but it's in the 99 draft, spent all of it. Think about how much money that is on drugs. Couldn't play for 8 years. Finally, gets rid of it, plays, dominates, has a family with kids, awesome guy. Like you said, by all accounts, everyone loved him. And then, I'm not sure what triggered this. I'm not sure if, he has the shoulder surgery. I'm not sure if he was, bothered by that he, couldn't, be on the field, do what he loved. Sure, that happens. And it just shows you how strong this addiction is, that it pulled him back, down to what, whatever happened. And, I give him all the credit in the world to admit it. So let's see what happens. If he can, get back on track and finish out that contract with the Angels, because he's a guy who's trying, and obviously, I was always one to believe that you were a weak person if you, succumb to those addictions, because you could just say no, refuse it, don't take stuff that is bad. It's simple as that in my head. But I guess people have this mental block or whatever it is that something just drags them down, and I would never know. Like you said, I can't speak for it, you can't speak for it, but I guess for some people it's very strong. So very morbid day, and we have more morbid news. If you want we could change gears to the NFL, the Shield. This Dez Bryant video, or lack thereof, in my opinion, I don't think there is a video of him, and the original report was he was in a Walmart parking lot and with a group of people, and there was a girl who was dragged, and that's all they're saying. They're not saying who did it or how he was involved. Dez Bryant was, what is he? He's been, the police have been calling him, I believe it was like six times in a very short span. Am I right about that?
Yeah, since he's been drafted.
6 times, and, there was already weird things with him, with his mom being, the comment, he was asked if his mom was a prostitute, and then you have this, this story now coming out, and people is saying it's worse than the Ray Rice video. Okay, well, the Ray Rice video came out before people heard about it. The video was out first, the reactions came after. Why is this Dez Bryant story being told and being publicized if there's no video? you have Schefter saying, "Oh, I've been on it since September." Really, Schefter? Have you been on since September? Because if you were, you would have probably came out and reported it, so that you don't lose out the story to a guy like whoever, Lock and Four on CBS or
Florio. Florio's another one.
Florio or Rappaport or somebody. If you have it, you're going to report it because you want to win. He's in competition.
Right. Florio has been going on his show every week and basically been leading with like the Dez Bryant video exists and like I know about it, and the next day like the Dez Bryant video exists and like leak sources like people they know about it and blah 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 blah. I'm with you. I don't think the video exists, and I don't think the video is going to exist until it actually physically exists and I see it. And I don't even know if I want to even see it then, if it's apparently worse than the Ray Rice stuff.
But it hasn't even been confirmed. They're saying that they don't even know if he was involved in it because he was in a group of people. It was his girlfriend at the time, or whatever. And they're saying that she could have been assaulted. That's what they're saying. First of all, if there's a video, if Walmart has it, it would have been out already. But Walmart doesn't have to release it. That's the other thing too. I believe actually Florio said that, which makes no sense because he's going back on his word. But I believe what he said today was, I don't know if I was listening to Boomer Carter and Boomer was talking about this, that he does not have to, Walmart, since they're a private company, they don't have to give up anything. But I feel like if it was out, they would have sold it. They would have given it to, one of these TMZ, one of these type of places would have had it, just like the Ray Rice video. They would have had it. And if Schefter's in competition with Florio, and Florio's in competition with Rappaport or whoever else, like I said, Lock and Four. See, I'm not saying that these guys have insider, but they're NFL insiders who want to break the story and know as the guy who broke it. Why would you sit on this story for this many months? You have it. Why bring it up and hint at it if you don't have the actual evidence? I just feel like it's just a bunch of false claims. There's no actual video around. If there is a video, I'll come back and eat my crow. I'll walk on the Brooklyn Bridge in a Speedo, whatever. I don't care. I'll do whatever I have my penance for this. I think it's perfect timing for the Cowboys because they're right now deciding between if they're going to re-sign DeMarco Murray or Dez Bryant. It's one of those situations. I think that the Cowboys know that he's a bad dude. We know what Dez Bryant is. He's an idiot. I don't think anyone would disagree with me that he's a full-blown idiot. He's a guy you probably don't want on your team. He's a locker room cancer. I hate using that term, but he is. He's a talent. He's a top 5 receiver. I don't think anyone would argue with me with that. But maybe they don't want to keep him. Maybe they're trying to fabricate this and make it out worse than it is so that they have reasons to not sign him, so the fan base does not kill Jerry Jones and company. Or it's one of those things where if the Cowboys can't have him, then no one else can. That's where I think this is. I think it's just if it's not, then it's a strong coincidence. But I mean, I don't know. If there's a video out there, what it comes down to is I think there would be a video, and we'd see it already. It would be out just as quickly as the Ray Rice video did.
Speaking of TMZ, that you mentioned it before, about an hour or two ago, TMZ released a video of Dez's mother, Angela Bryant, from an incident that occurred in Texas in 2012, and in the video,
so it's a year after. A year after
the Walmart. Yes, this is a year after the Walmart incident. The Walmart incident took place in July of 2011, and the woman that you were describing in the video, the victim in the police report, was I don't know how to pronounce her name. I assume it's Eileen Nash, Bryant's girlfriend and the mother of his 2 children.
Right.
So, but getting back to the
we can
TMZ,
just call her Penny.
Yes, we'll call her Penny. Getting back to the TMZ stuff, in the new video that came out with Angela Bryant, in the video she's speaking to a cop and she's very out of breath. She's sweating. Her shirt is ripped. Talking directly to the cop, she said that Dez got into an altercation with her brother, who would be Dez's uncle, obviously. Mm-hmm. What she said about the altercation, basically generic stuff that they were arguing. Dez threatened to hit her, pulled on her, just basically flipped out, whatever, what have you. There were never any reports about the exact incident or the exact argument that Dez and his uncle had. And then eventually the charges were dropped. They didn't want anything to get out. And Dez basically got off, assuming that he would stay out of trouble for the following year, which he did. Dez has actually probably been out of trouble now for a good year and a half, I'd say. I can't remember the last incident where Dez was involved with a run-in with the law. I just think now that the rumors about this video have surfaced, it's trendy to go back and reopen these can of worms and fish for these stories that are now 3, 4, 5, 6 years old that have no relevance to what's happening now. And sure, I'm like, Dez has come out and on Twitter and he's admitted that I used to hang out with the wrong crowd.
Right,
I got involved with the wrong people.
That was no surprise, though.
He's made a lot of mistakes. He's gotten arrested.
That was no surprise. That's
no, it's absolutely no surprise.
That's why he slid in the draft. That's why when the Cowboys took him at 20, whatever it was, they were saying, because he's a first-round talent. He's a top 5 talent.
Right. When
he was coming out. But his characters are just so bad that people thought he was going to slide tremendously, and the Cowboys took a chance on him. I totally agree with what you're saying. I'm saying, why are they going digging up for this stuff now? I think it's you have to... I'm not going to accuse. I'm going to pull a Francisco here. I'm not going to accuse anyone. Okay. I'm not accusing anyone. But it's very, very strange that when he's a free agent and the Cowboys may not want to sign him, that all of a sudden this information is coming out. If there was a video, it would be out. Florio himself says it's time for an answer. Right now, there's no evidence that a video exists. But Schefter's been saying since September he knows of a video. If Walmart had a video, it would be out. It's as simple as that. There was a video, in the Atlantic City Hotel where Ray Rice knocked out his fiance. There would be a video of Dez Bryant doing this. There was some huge altercation in a parking lot. There would be some evidence of it. The Lancaster police in that area, they have no video. They have no evidence of this. I'm all for, punishing this guy if he did something wrong. But you cannot crucify him if there's no evidence.
Right.
And I don't think Dez Bryant is a good person. I think he's probably awful for your team. He's a talent, but the guy's a hothead, only cares about himself. No one would disagree with that. But if there's no evidence, you cannot, you cannot punish him. You cannot suspend him. You cannot fine him. He did nothing wrong. So for once, I'm actually all for Dez Bryant saying whatever he's been saying on social media, because why is this coming up now? Why are people, saying, "Oh, this is worse than Ray Rice," when there could be no video? How could you say that what he did was worse than Ray Rice when there's no video? Like I said, if it comes out that there's a video and what he did is just as bad as Ray Rice, or if not worse, go ahead, punish him. Damn to hell. Whatever you got to do, do it. But until then, there's no way. There is no way you could punish him. You cannot. And another thing comes up too. Say this video does come out, and say if something comes out, or someone finally admits, yeah, whatever, he did this and this and this. He cannot get any worse treatment or severe punishment. It has to be equal to Ray Rice or to Greg Hardy or to Adrian Peterson. And I'm saying, like, there could be if they're saying it is more severe, it cannot be any different, because that just shows the NFL is totally backwards. They have no idea what they're doing, because it's unfair. What's the precedent if you have 3 cases where you handle a certain way and handle his differently? So all I'm saying is I hope the NFL punishes him the same exact way, depending on the crime, the same exact way that Ray Rice and those other guys I mentioned get punished. Until then, Dez Bryant, there's no video, there's no evidence. Go sign with the team, go play football. That's it.
Speaking of the Shield, the other big NFL story that occurred just today was Adrian Peterson being reinstated, but when a judge sided with him in the NFLPA, and it just came out a couple of minutes ago that the NFL is actually going to appeal the judge's decision.
Right, they knew that.
Which is going to prolong this and make this even murkier. But, I mean, most people knew that Peterson was going to win his case. Everybody had known that, and most people knew that the NFL was going to continue to fight it. I think it's irrelevant for Peterson because I think there's a good shot that he may not play again. I know the Vikings don't want him, which is understandable given the circumstances. And if you look at the whole Ray Rice controversy, Ray Rice was reinstated, but nobody took him on. Why? Because the league, as good as these players are, has also become a very heavy PR-driven league. So Peterson was behind the 8 ball from the get-go, and now that the NFL is continuing to drag this out and prolong this for as long as they possibly can, now there's a great opportunity. You're never going to see Adrian Peterson play another down in the NFL again.
I think he plays.
Some team's going to have to give him a shot.
score one for the players' union. Not score one, score twice.
Score twice for the players' union.
Both Goodell's rulings have been overruled.
That is correct.
First Rice, now Peterson. Again, the NFL, I mean, by far the worst year in terms of PR. We said this, last week, the first time. By far a worse year in terms of PR. Goodell, gets paid $30+ million, but the guy, makes these rulings, these statements, and then he loses out. They're not transparent. They're lying. Any bad thing you want to say about them is probably true. They only care about the money. They only care about making, not harming their product, and just making sure they're happy, all their business friends are happy, and everything looks good. They did not know how to handle these situations, the Rice situation, and they did not know how to handle the Peterson. They've never seen it before. They have, but they just brushed it under the rug. These domestic, abuses. And now that people spoke out against it, which they should have, forever, now that they try to react, they try to do what they thought was best, and the players union ended up winning out. Now, we knew that, the NFL was going to appeal this. I'm not sure what they think the outcome will be, but let's just say, for argument's sake, that Peterson now can play, and Ray Rice can play, and Greg Hardy now is asking for reinstatement, to immediate reinstatement, because of the outcomes of both these cases. And I agree with him. If they're reinstated, he has to be too. No matter what he did, no matter how bad it was, he has to, because you have to follow suit. That's what I'm saying. The same thing with Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant cannot be treated any differently than these guys were, if it's the same crime. Because you have to do them all the same, or, unless you want to pick, why is it up to Dez Bryant to be the guy you set the precedent against and change the rules? So, especially when it happened years before the other ones did. If you're an NFL team, and like I said, all intents and purposes, they can play, do you look to go sign these guys?
No, I wouldn't.
Dramatic pause. Why?
Like I said, it's a PR-driven world, and especially in terms of Peterson. Peterson's a running back. You can find running backs anywhere now. I mean, look at what the Ravens did. They got rid of Ray Rice, but in comes Justin Forsett, and Forsett had a monster season. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it all depends on the situation. It all depends on the player. Dez is right now in his prime. He's a year or two after he entered his prime. He's still got another 4 or 5 years to go. Peterson's slowly ticking to 30. 30 is the age where backs fall off a cliff. So if you combine the whole PR nightmare with how much longer does Peterson have to go, granted, Adrian Peterson's a physical freak. He's a monster, and he's always been that way.
Right. So
he's like Peterson, the Lynches of the world. Those guys are just absolute physical monsters where you'll probably get another 2 to 3 years out of those players in particular than you will out of some other run-of-the-mill Alfred Morris kind of running back, right? But like I said, it's especially with Peterson's case, I don't think there's really enough on the Dez side of things to really persuade a team to not sign him. Obviously, all 32 teams would be lining up to sign Dez if they had the cap space.
No, I didn't mean to include Dez in this. I think Dez Bryant's playing next year.
No, of course
I think Dez Bryant will be a Cowboy next year, and he will play for the Cowboys.
I just think this Peterson thing has snowballed to the point where it's like teams are now, like a couple of months ago when this was first, when he was first showing up for these court appearances, and hopefully, they were hoping that this would get resolved as quickly as it possibly could. Teams were like, all right, if this gets resolved quickly, if the Vikings cut him, we'll be on this. We'll give him a 2 or 3 year deal. Now that this thing is slowly dragging on, and it's dragging on, and it's dragging on, and nobody knows when this is going to end, now teams have to think about, if we sign him, what are the ramifications? What are the consequences that he's going to have to go throughout the season? Is this really over? He's going to have more court appearances, and obviously, with the breaking news that the NFL is going to appeal, that's most likely to happen. I don't think he's going to play again. We can agree to disagree. I know it's kind of a bold statement, considering that he's probably got 2 or 3 more years left, whereas Rice probably doesn't really have that much of a career left.
I think they're both going to play. I think that if, like you said, Adrian Peterson is a physical freak, and he will. Is he 30 now? Will he be 30 next year when the season starts? What'd you say?
I believe he'll be 30 next year.
Right. You know what I mean? You never want to see the running back, especially a running back with that many carries. That being said, if other running backs in this league can get a chance to, eventually die out and wear out and, shoulder over the hill, I think Peterson deserves that chance. He's come back from a lot. His injury, he rehab part and everyone get, whatever. I'm not saying he's a good person for what he did. I'm not saying Ray Rice is a good person for what he did. But if you served your time and took the punishment and win your case, there is no reason why you shouldn't be allowed to play. Look what the Bills.
No, I agree with that.
Look what the Bills did with Richard Incognito, which I think, first of all, was the dumbest thing to ever happen because it's just locker room nonsense, and that's fine. I have no problem with that.
Well, look at Michael Vick too.
They served their time.
I agree in the sense that if you do the crime, you do the time, I will forgive you. It's the same thing with like Plaxico Burress too.
Right.
You do the crime, you do the time, I'll come back and forgive you. But quarterback and receiver works a little bit differently than running back in terms of age. And,
right.
By the way, Peterson, March 21st, so he'll be 30 in March.
I think he's a rare kind of athlete that could take this kind of beating that being an NFL running back, puts on you, and he could somehow be productive. I think next year, missing a whole, how many games did he miss now? Was it around a half a season? A little bit, was it less than half a season?
Yeah.
And that obviously does not really help anyone. I think Ray Rice missed the full season.
Ray Rice missed the full season,
but he is younger. But although his play was declining, both these guys, can do it all. They can catch the balls running back there. They're two of the best running backs in the league. I'm not sure how productive they'll be. Matthew Berry, who I'm a big fan of, has Adrian Peterson ranked as the number 5 running back.
That's very. I think that's lofty.
He said that's too. He said that's almost too low. He's going to have a monster season. Look, I love Matthew Berry. I'll get made fun of by you and the guys in the fantasy league that we run, that I read his stuff too much and I pick his plays he likes too much. The guy convinced me one year to take Michael Vick and Antonio Gates in the first 4 rounds, and both totally sucked. I came in last that year. I think Matthew Berry's outside of his mind putting Adrian Peterson as the 5th best running back this upcoming year. Being 30 years old, missing half a season, not sure what team will be on, not sure how many carries he'll even get on that team. Because, you know what, he might be on a team that could handle this PR mess and just, put him as a second running back as a part of a committee. Because, his agent had a fist fight with, Vikings staff. He's not going back there. Where he's going to go, he's going to be the featured guy and be a totally healthy, spring chicken at 30 years old missing half a season. I don't know what team. Ray Rice, if he played this year before this whole mess happened, people were already doubting his ability, his skill set, because it was diminishing. That's what happened to running back. Running back right now, I'll say this right now. Running back in today's game is the single least important position in all of sports.
Right, I agree. It's
not even
obsolete.
Close.
It's becoming obsolete.
It's a passing in the NFL alone. It's a passing league. People now build from the trenches. You see O linemen go a lot of years. Top 1, 2, 3. Quarterbacks always going to be the most important position. Receivers now, teams want a stud receiver. If you look every position in the draft, I mean the last guy to go high was Trent Richardson, and he stunk. He's a bust. The guy had 300-yard games his first, season, and that's it. The running backs will never go that high ever again. They're just everything now is a committee because running backs wear out too easily. It's just a violent position and a violent sport. There is no other position in sports that is that useless. Obviously, basketball, all 5 you need. In hockey, you need a goalie. You need 2 defensemen in front of the goal. You need 3 guys who play forward and score. Like I went through everything. Every position in the NFL right now is you could make an argument for a team needs to build a team through these positions, except for running back. You just don't need a running back who's going to be a stud and carry the load. Those days are long gone. I'm not saying there aren't great running backs in the NFL. I'm not saying teams can't have a running game, like the Seahawks. With Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch is what? 30, 31, I don't even know how old he is now. He might retire. You got a lot of tread in those tires, and you're just not the same person. I'm not even going to get into the whole guys, killing themselves, when they're older and they're tired, their brain becomes scrambled eggs. I'm just saying from a standpoint of the NFL now playing, you don't need a guy who carries the ball 400 times. Teams just don't do it. Teams throw the ball now. It's not even close. The running back is this unimportant.
I agree. My last point on Peterson is that if he does play again for a team, expect it to be a lot like how the LaDainian Tomlinson and Jets situation turned out, where an all-time great back comes into a team, and he's most likely going to be the definitive number 2. However, he's probably the best number 2 in the league, and he plays a much more important role in the offense than a lot of people would have expected him to perform. They tried that with Chris Johnson this year, but it didn't work. That's obviously a different story for another time. So I think his days as a lead back are done. I don't think he plays again.
Agreed.
But if he does play again, I could see him totally working in that number 2 platoon situation.
How funny would it be if he joined the Cowboys? Huh?
That'd be great. That'd be hilarious.
They get him on a discount, let Rocco Murray walk, who I think is going to be awful this upcoming year. He won't even reach half his numbers. And they'll re-sign Dez Bryant. 2 PR nightmares.
2 arguable PR
But you know what? A
nightmares.
team that is constantly in the news, I think those are the best kind of teams to sign it. Because what happens what happens for a team, like the Rams, they go and sign Michael Sam. A team that's never in the news, all of a sudden in the news, and they don't know how to handle it. The Cowboys, if they're not in the news, it's news. It's a weird thing if they're not. You have Romo, you have one of the most popular owners in sports. You have a team that needs to take the next step and go further into the playoffs. I mean, despite them probably getting robbed this past year, but I think I think they could weather the storm. I really do. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. We could transition to more positive NFL or future NFL news.
Do we have even time for that?
Well,
we still got to cover.
We
got to cover Derrick Rose and your boys at your boys at Sirius.
No,
how do they feel about that?
No, we'll end it with Rose. I mean, I think Rose. The reason why I'm not really jumping to talk about it is because I think it's just expected at this point.
What, his third knee injury in the last 4 years was expected? Yeah, I mean, probably.
Not that I expected he was going to get hurt, but you're not surprised. When the news came out, I was not shocked.
No, I wasn't shocked either. Everybody knows. Well, we've talked about this on a previous
podcast. So really
getting
into we're going to get into NBA now. We're going to skip over the Combine.
We're going to skip over the Combine. What do you want to talk about the Combine?
Well, we're on the NFL. I mean, I thought we did a lot of basketball last week, and I thought the NFL was more. I mean, post-Combine results. You're right. Hey, you're right. We'll do. You know what? I'm going to say this right now. So we have it on MP3 format, and we can always go back to the tape. We'll do a Dishing and Swishing mock draft before the NFL draft comes up.
Right.
And me and Joe will pick our 1 to 32, and we'll do a draft special. So I will plan this right now for our listeners that we're skipping the draft now. You're right. Whatever. The Combine is just numbers. I'm not sure. I'm not a big Combine believer. I think some things did stick out. I think teams are petrified of taking either quarterback, but I will hold that. I'll tease with that and hold it until our next Combine special. But yeah, back to Derrick Rose. The news broke, tore his meniscus. I should actually report during this podcast they came out that he had the surgery. It was a meniscectomy or something along. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Meniscectomy.
AKA his meniscus is now removed from his knee, and people are asking, "Oh, Eddie, what does that do?" I'll tell you what it does. When he first tore his meniscus, he had it repaired, and that was back when, if you remember, when Derrick Rose was doctors cleared him to play, and Derrick Rose said, "No, I'm not going to play yet. I'm not going to play yet. I'm not going to play yet," and he ended up just missing the whole rest of the year. When you repair it, rehab does take longer, but you still have your meniscus. This surgery had now removes it completely, so you're now sans meniscus in your knee. His right knee now is missing it. And the recovery time is much, much shorter. However, your career is going to be shortened because eventually you'll have more knee pain. You'll have bone on bone. That's what it does.
I think there's a good chance that Rose, I won't say would never play again because he'll probably play again. But I mean, there's no way that he's going to be anywhere even remotely close. Like this is the nail in the coffin for his career.
Do you agree that he is the biggest what if of our generation, and maybe not in all sports,
Of
but
our
definitely
generation?
of basketball, definitely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would say the next closest what if before Derrick Rose for me was probably Grant Hill.
Oh yeah, it's Grant Hill or Penny Hardaway.
Right. Well,
Anthony.
yeah. Penny
those
Hardaway is closest in terms of position because he played the same kind of role, same kind of position when he was drafted in Orlando in the 90s that Rose was drafted for the Bulls to do. Grant Hill played...
He played 9 years.
Yeah. Hill was like...
He was an all-star, though, a couple times. I mean, Grant Hill's his career was cut short due to...
He's natural small forward.
Yeah.
Two different positions.
His career was cut short actually due to medical, advancements not being where they were today, and his doctors giving the wrong opinion and not helping him out. And if you actually listen to some Grant Hill stuff, what he says, he will expand on that. If you look at his ankle's disgusting. I mean, the bone it's like popping out, so it's huge. Penny Hardaway, similar things. Doctors' opinions being off. Today we have much better. The advance we made from when we were just born to now is incredible.
It's revolutionary.
That's the reason why Derrick Rose went through 3 knee surgeries and come back and still play. Derrick Rose had flashes of coming back to himself, but he was not playing at the level he was supposed to. Anyone could put, Zach Lowe tweeted it. Frank Isola tweeted it.
Yeah, we've been talking about how Rose is really
was not at the level that he once was, coming off the surgery. When the season started, what did Derrick Rose say? He said that I want to not be able to, be in crutches or whatever, or have pain walking down at my daughter's graduation. If you just took your meniscus out in your knee, I'm sorry, you're going to have a lot of pain in it when you get old. You will have arthritis. You will have all these aches and pains when you wake up and roll out of bed. That's just what's going to happen. That's when you're an athlete and you play the game like he does, a small guy who just attacks the rim and is very explosive. Your body's going to break down. Unfortunately, Derrick Rose's body, his gene makeup, DNA, whatever, it's not a very strong body. He's just very prone to these types of injuries. And, a guy like Russell Westbrook who plays very similar to him, you don't see, he did have an injury. I think he had a partial tear or something or a sprain of MCL. That's really it. And he, plays the same way, but some people just could weather it, and he couldn't. And it's a shame that he'll probably be the first NBA MVP winner to not make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
When he won it in 2011, and one of the greatest seasons ever.
It's amazing. Truly is amazing.
And it takes the Bulls.
Yeah, it affects the Eastern Conference race a lot.
I mean, I never thought the Bulls were going to be. This whole year, you're waiting for the Bulls to explode and be the team, especially when the Cavs were struggling and still trying to find that chemistry. And then how the tables have turned now with LeBron, playing at an MVP level, which I expected, and you see the Bulls, even as great as Powell's played, which people didn't like that signing, and Powell's been awesome this year. Defensively, he's never going to be good, but he'll get you the boards and he'll score inside.
Well, he rebounds well.
He's always very well.
And he's always been a great rebounder. And he's always...
I mean, Powell's a Hall of Famer. He's great.
No, absolutely, he's a Hall of Famer. I agree.
But Noah's play has been down since last year when he was an MVP candidate. The emergence of Jimmy Butler has made them... They'll be a team who could win a first-round game. A first-round series. I'm not sure whether they'll win past that.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Right now, it seems like the 5 are Atlanta, Cleveland, Toronto, Chicago, Washington. Those are right now the 5 teams that could probably make a run and win the East. The dark horse, if they get in, if everything breaks correctly, is Indiana. Because if Indiana gets Paul George healthy and he's actually showing signs of playing good, they could probably make a push to 500, maybe win a couple, maybe it'll be like 42, 43 wins, 44 wins, what have you.
No, there's no way that a Paul George coming back in mid-March is going to come back and after his leg was just shattered to come back and no, the East is not dead. The East is getting a very bad rap. The East got an unfair.
After Milwaukee, the teams are Brooklyn, Miami. Those are not
okay. There's two
teams.
So they have 2 bad teams. All right, if Chris Bosh and I go down, Miami getting Goran Dragic would have been a really, really, really tough get in the first round.
I thought that would have vaulted them to 5 or 6. I think they would have ended up vaulting Miami, possibly Washington, Chicago.
Brooklyn stinks, but but the West, look, the East now. I think with the injury to Bosh and the injury to Rose, I think makes the East a whole lot less unpredictable than the West is. The West, it can go either way. The East, now I think you pretty much know what's going to happen. I think right now if you pick anyone pick anything but the Cavs, you're crazy. Who knows what would have happened with Rose healthy in the playoffs? Like I said, the Bulls never showed, even with a full team, they never showed that they were a very cohesive, team destined for a long playoff run. Now they'll blame the minutes thing and Rose getting hurt on Tom Thibodeau. Who knows what's up with him? I think he's a phenomenal coach, and the fact that they might fire him is just, that team might go from one of the top seeds in the East to rebuilding next year.
Yeah.
Rose hurt. You never know what's up with him. He'll be 27, coming off a bunch of knee surgeries. He's damaged goods. That's all he'll be for the rest of his career.
They could very
Butler
easily,
could leave.
Yeah, well, Butler could leave, but what I'm saying is they could very easily make the decision on the fly. Okay, listen, we have to rebuild, so we have to do something. So they could very easily turn around and say, Gasol would be made available, and obviously teams would be interested, and he'd be easy to trade. They could even put a guy like Noah up. Granted his trade value is really down, but if they really decided to go that route...
it's not really down. It's down compared to last year, but teams would love to have a guy like Noah play the 5. Let's be honest.
If they're retooling on the fly, they would... Well, if I was them, I would keep Jimmy Butler, because I think players like Jimmy Butler are much harder to find nowadays.
I think he's in the face. They have to keep Jimmy Butler. He's restricted, which is good for them.
You understand what I'm saying, though, right?
No, I 100% understand what you're saying. I think the future with Rose is very tricky. I think if you still want to invest, he's going to come back. I think this year showed you that he cannot be the player he once was. He proved that. Now, adding another surgery, I think you have to, at some point, realize that he might not. He's never going to be the 2011 Derrick Rose. Do you cut ties with him moving forward? Do you let him go? Do you try to trade him for damaged goods, get back whatever you can, and send him off to a team that it's a mid-level market team that they could promote this guy and say he's going to revive his career here and whatever. Send him to a Sacramento, someone like that who has a crazy owner like Viva Granadive and would take him. I think it's definitely I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying it's a possibility. I think it's something that they have to think about, because he's putting you in a really bad spot with his injury history and how, what his future can give you. I think Jimmy Butler is your new face. He's a guy who plays well in all aspects of the game. Noah, he's still a younger guy. He still plays a 5. He's the heart and soul of the team. I would keep him. Pau Gasol, Hall of Famer, unbelievable year. No reason to get rid of him. I think if you can keep those 3, you have a pretty deep bench. You have guys like Dougie McBuckets. You have Mirotic, Taj Gibson. You keep him. Not a bad team whatsoever.
No, it's not a bad team.
Rose
it's a very, very hard decision.
Making the decision on Rose is the hardest decision they can make. If you can get picks and rebuild, and you get load up again, that team could be a very good team going forward. Because don't forget, Cavs, LeBron, as crazy as it sounds, I'm not even going to address that dumb Berman of the Post article. He could leave. He has an opt-out clause. He has a 2-year deal. Kevin Love, an NBA executive, said not happy in Cleveland. He could leave. They could fall apart. I think the Indiana Pacers, the window's closed. Hibbert's awful. George can't do it by himself. He's not that kind of player, especially off that major injury. The Nets are going nowhere fast. The Knicks are in a rebuilding stage. Sixers are the worst run team in all sports. Fact. Not opinion, fact. The Bulls' future is not as bad as people make it out to be. It's just that they could just swallow the idea of getting rid of their guy. And what an awful day for Chicago sports fans, too. With Patrick Kane going down as well.
Yeah, Patrick Kane. Now he's out 12 weeks.
12 weeks, yeah.
12
3
weeks,
months.
Which is
tough,
upsetting because he was on pace to he probably wouldn't have won it if everything continued how it was going. But right now, to me, the MVP frontrunners before the time that hit against the boards, before the time he got hurt, the three front runners would probably have been Patrick Kane, Pekka Rinne, and Rick Nash.
Right.
Those are the
I
those
think
right
Ovechkin
now
would
would
be
be
there,
the
too.
top three. What?
Ovechkin would be in there too.
No, Ovechkin would be in there too, but I think between Nash's defensive play, what he's meant to the team, Ovechkin is, everybody knows he scores 50, 60 goals, but that team has really, really improved defensively. Holtby's had not necessarily a breakout year, but he's kind of starting to find consistency. So defensively, the Capitals are a lot better behind Ovi, and Ovi's was really the two-way force. He's mostly one-dimensional, but that one dimension is elite, and it's going to get him into the Hall of Fame because it's way better than everybody else. But yeah, so Kane would have had an opportunity to be the first American-born player to ever win the Hart Trophy, which would have been a nice notch in his belt, considering that he won the Conn Smythe 2 years ago and became one of, four now? No, five. Five American-born players have won the Conn Smythe Trophy. No, I'm wrong. Is Justin Williams American?
No.
So he's four.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Yeah. Brian Leach, New York Ranger great. Tim Thomas, Jonathan Quick, and Patrick Kane. The only four American-born players to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, and nobody's won the Hart Trophy yet. So, I hate watching Showtime go down. He's exciting, immensely exciting player.
I don't think but luckily the collarbone is not a career-altering injury. It's a collarbone. People always say the collarbone is not really that. It's not a knee. It's not a shoulder in terms of like a rotator cuff or something along the lines of that. I think it's just one of those unfortunate injuries that it just hurts to move, and it's just in a spot where you can't play, obviously, a contact sport. I think Kane will come back. He'll be fine. It just hurts the Blackhawks' cup chances or, during their playoff run now. But let's see. They say 12 weeks. If he rehabs, great. Wants to come back. These hockey players they're insane guys. Like, these dudes just want to be back on the ice. So you never know. He might want to come back and play. Yeah, definitely. One of the worst days. It was a really bad Tuesday night for all of Chicago. We went over.
We really haven't gotten into much NHL talk since.
No. We have not. And I was just going to say, we should probably wrap up now because we went way over probably our limit, but did have a lot of crazy stuff to talk about today. We'll promise you next week's podcast will be post NHL trade deadline, so definitely a lot of NHL trade deadline talk. We'll get to more positive NFL news. We'll do combine wrap up, and a lot of guys are being cut today. We didn't get to that. AJ Hawk being cut, Reggie Bush being cut, Matthias Kiwanuka being cut, amongst others. So we'll definitely get to roster moves in the NFL and the NHL. I like to make a case, talk about the NBA Western Conference, the 8th seed, and how crazy it is now with the 8th seed possibly upsetting the 1, how the East picture looks, just stuff like that. Hopefully away from these negative stories that kind of clouded this segment. But any final words, Joe, before
we got two things. One, we got a question from hashtag #FFoss is burning. Who gets more wins this year, the Yankees or the Mets? I feel like we're going to probably both agree on this.
I think that...
you want me to answer first? Because I'll have no shame in saying
no,
this.
I think the Yankees are going to have more wins.
Really?
I think it's not... I don't...
Really? Interesting.
What it comes down to is the Yankees' offense is still better than the Mets' offense.
No, yeah. I agree with that.
And the Mets, the Mets have good stars, but the Mets are, like you said, the same thing for, Tanaka coming from major surgery, so is Harvey. CeCe had a down year. I think a lot of dealt with the weight. He's coming back now. He's not going to be relied on as the guy.
There are also multiple factors that
Nova
go into
coming
this.
back. I just think the Yankees rotation is deep. Sneezing during the show. Thank you. But what it comes down to is the Mets are in an awful hitter's park. They have really no bat I can rely on. The Yankees still have a few bats who I think, McCann, Ellsbury, Gardner, that's not bad. Let's see if Didi Gregorius can be a good new young player. A-Rod platooning here and there. Teixeira, still has, still a home run hitter when healthy. I do think the Yankees last year got really snake bit with injuries. I think this year won't be as bad. I think the Yankees have one of the best bullpens, if not the best bullpen still in all of baseball. So I definitely think the Yankees I don't think either team was destined for a deep playoff run. I think the Mets and Yankees will be close in terms of wins, but it's unfair to say that if you say for one team, the Mets, that is, if there are a lot of things that have to go right. If Harvey's healthy, if Syndergaard develops, if Wheeler develops, if DeGrom stays in the same pace, you could say the same thing for the Yankees. If CeCe comes back to form, if Tanaka's healthy, if Nova can pitch well when he's healthy, Pineda's another guy I didn't mention. I think he's a good player. So it comes down to the staff. I take the Yankees bats over the Mets bats. So I think it's going to be very, very close. But like you said, they're around the same. They're 80, 90 win teams and around there.
Right. I'll play devil's advocate only because I'm a big believer in the Mets this year.
Well, you're wrong, but...
Well, I know. Wait. I'm a big believer in the Mets. I think they're one bat shy of being really interesting.
They're more than one bat shy.
I think they're one bat shy of being really interesting.
Really bad decision going...
Interesting.
Do you think that all those 4 pitchers they have, the ones I named, will hit? Do you think
I think Harvey is going to be very good. I know Wheeler's good already. He'll be fine.
I think Wheeler and Syndergaard are question marks. You could have packaged them for bats. I think they need to.
I think they need to package Syndergaard because I'm afraid Syndergaard's going to blow out his arm like Jose Fernandez and every single guy who has come into the majors in the last 3 years and get Tommy John. So I think they should have traded Syndergaard when his value was high and gotten that desperate bat that they needed. There were rumors in the offseason about a Syndergaard for Ian Desmond swap.
No, it's awful. I would not do that. But I'm talking about when back before Stan was re-signed, they could have made a big deal for Stan.
Right, they could have made a big deal for Stan.
A guy who could change, a guy who could hit the ball actually out of that park, in the polo grounds wherever they play. What was it? Yeah, well,
they're moving the fences in again. So
yeah, the third time.
No, I agreed in the sense that they should have went after Stanton because all Stanton does is bash the ball. So whatever ballpark he plays in, it means jack because his jacks go 450 feet.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter where you play. But yeah, you say they're multiple bats. I think they're one bat away from being very interesting. I think Grandy's going to have a good season.
Nope.
I think Deneau kind of figured out the end of last year. I don't think he's going to be good, but I think he's going to be an average, to solid MLB everyday catcher. I don't think Duda's going to hit as many home runs as he did again last year, but he'll be a solid 20 home run-ish kind of player. I think Kadai was a very good fit for that. They needed one of those veterans who has been around the grind, who has been to the playoffs with a couple of teams. Kadai by no means is a winning player, but he's a good veteran to have. And with him and Wright in the locker room, I think the lineup will be improved on last year. They get Harvey back. The pitching is good. They got Mejia in the bullpen. Maybe they go out and get another arm or two for the bullpen as the season progresses. But they're a bat away from being very interesting. And the only reason I say that is because they play in a division with the Nationals, who are still going to probably win 95 to 100 games.
Sure.
The Marlins are going to be sneaky, okay. And if they get Fernandez back towards the end of the season, he's lighting the lamp like...
Yeah, he's a real deal.
They were a 500 team last year. A lot of people don't realize that. They kind of went under the radar. They got Stanton back. They don't have any of those problems in the locker room anymore. They'll be the same kind of team. They'll be a 500-ish team, maybe win up to 85 games. The Braves will probably finish somewhere around 500. The Phillies are really the only bad team in that division. So the Mets are going to have to compete. Whereas I think the Yankees, playing into your point a little bit, the Orioles are a question mark. Mm-hmm. Their pitching is probably not as good, but they've gotten away with that in recent years because their lineup's been so good. Nelson Cruz is in Seattle now. Nick Markakis is in Atlanta.
Right.
Toronto, I'm not going to believe Toronto makes the playoffs until they make the playoffs. The Rays are definitely in transition mode, and the Red Sox are probably the chief competition for the Yankees. So if you look at it from that sense, the Yankees may end up winning 92 games and winning the division.
And the Red Sox have their pitching status pretty bad.
However, I will still go out on a limb and I will say the Mets will win more games. I say the Yankees will win 87. I think the Mets will win 89. I'm just throwing freaking numbers out there. I don't know, but I'm going to go with the Mets. I'm going to take a shot.
All right.
Live from the basement.
You're done?
The other point I was going to ask, who you like tonight, the Cavs or the Warriors?
Oh, I called into my old show, where it's hosted now by Nick Picked and Peter Zamb, Offsides Radio on WTBU, home of Eddie Murphy and Howard Stern. And I was talking about this game. I think this is a finals preview. I think the Cavs are going to win this game because the Cavs, just based on their interior, low post scoring, as opposed to the team with the Splash Brothers, the Warriors, needing to hit the long ball. And I think if you're any team that relies on the three ball is just, if it does not fall, you struggle. And yeah, they have David Lee, they have Bogut, but I think Kevin Love is one of the more dominant inside players. LeBron can get to the rim. David Lee can't defend really. Not like Andrew Bogut's an all-world rim protector. I just like the Cavs in this game. They just have so many pieces. Those trades for Mozgov and getting Chump and JR. JR's playing lights out. I mean, LeBron's right now has been MVP.
They were huge. The shot in the arm they needed.
They've been awesome. So I think this is a really fun game tonight for a finals preview. So I am going to go with the Cleveland Cavaliers to win this game in a close one. If the Warriors win, put it this way, I don't think this game means anything in terms of the best team in the NBA. But I will say this: if one team blows the other out, watch out for either one of those teams. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
I agree with the Cavaliers, and to make the last point, I think LeBron's going to show up and have a huge game tonight, and I think he realizes that with this nationally televised game, he's got to bring it, and I think this might be the Cavs' best overall game of the season.
Yeah, I think I would not be surprised if the Cavs won by 10 plus points. I mean, the NBA right now is at an all-time high in terms of their product. Having these stars like Clay and Steph playing LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love, I think is awesome. The league needs that. They're definitely going the right direction. Adam Silver, cannot say enough good things about him. He's awesome. Commissioner. So that's all it for our Twitter questions. We're all done.
We're done.
Before we end here, I want to say a lot of crazy week. I know we have these audio issues. We're two idiots who've been recording into mics that have not even been recording sound. It was from my Mac mic the whole entire time because I guess the Mac does not take the headphone jack type microphone. So we are in the process of getting new audio equipment.
We're going to upgrade.
We will have 4. It's very expensive, so we will start a Fund Me page. Because my SiriusXM salary does not, and Joe's Heavy.com salary does not cover the cost of it. But we will have 4 jacks. We will have 2 for us, 1 for a guest.
And 1 phone.
And 1 for a phone to call in. So we're getting there. Our good friend Landy and out of Stanford will now record. You know, he's a busy guy working in the banks and such. But when he has time, he'll record a guitar piece, and that'll be our intro. I will somehow edit it together. Once we get an editing program, too, that's another thing. But maybe I could do something at work, so we will fix that, too. I know these have been the questions people have been saying. So Joe won't echo anymore. We'll have an intro, so it won't be dry. We did start our blog up, so now all of our podcasts will be on our YouTube page, but we'll also embed it onto our blog wall or whatever it's called.
Dishing and Swishing Podcast.wordpress.com. You can find it on our Twitter, uppercase D, lowercase n, uppercase S, _podcast. Follow us. Go ask us some questions.
Right.
We got a lot of things going on.
So our podcast now has the blog, and we got, me and Joe are so appreciative of that. A lot of great feedback and people asking us if they wanted to be a part of this. So we have our good friend Joe Cullen is now going to come on and write a lot of stuff for us. He going to cover a lot of soccer, a lot of Mets, Knicks, Rangers, Jets, local stuff. I'll tell you what, he wrote us a soccer article. I mean, me and Joe not fans of soccer. We don't know much about the game. He wrote an article. I'll tell you what, really, really well written piece, really funny piece.
Awesome.
It's a really, really good read. Take a minute, read it.
Really modern style too of writing.
Very modern. Yeah, a lot of funny clips, YouTube clips, and funny GIFs. He makes a lot of really funny sports comparisons. GIFs. So even GIFs, whatever. I don't know. If you're not a big soccer fan like me, me and Joe are, we read it, we thought it was hilarious. So definitely check that out when we post it. We'll let you know on the Twitter sphere. We're going to add our good friend Andrew Crawford. We're going to do a lot of golf pieces. We have Gene DeMayo writing stuff on the NFL. I believe we wrote something on Jason Pierre-Paul already. So we have, people coming here helping and contributing to our blogs. We'll have a lot of stuff to read, as well as you can listen to myself and Joe rant for 2 hours or however.
We should just make this 90 minutes.
So
there's no way we can keep these within an hour.
Yeah. So look, I had no
executive decision on the fly.
I had no preference of how long they go. Joe's only worried about time. Joe has places to be. Joe has to go to afternoons to watch the Ranger game while I'll sit home and watch it. But so that's what we have for this week. Like I said, next week look out for our NFL talk and NHL talk for the roster moves and the playoff picture for the NBA, as well as whatever else happens. Because this week a lot of stuff came out. So check us on Twitter. Check our blog out. Read the articles. We're going to post them. They're really funny. Listen to our podcast. Promote it for us. Help us out. And it will sound a lot better once we get those new audio mixers and intro and outro in here. And we're working on the fly, but we're trying to give you good content in the time being. So that's our really long closing segment there.
Live from the basement. This is Joe.
And this is Eddie. We'll see you next week for a lot more fun sports talk.